AIT way for telling my wife to stop being so jealous of my friend's fiance. My wife, 35 female, and I, 36 male, are good friends with another couple, my best friend, Matt, 36M, and his fiance, Rachel, 24F. Rachel models and is very attractive. My wife is less conventionally attractive, but I fell in love with her for her humor and good spirit, which I personally find more attractive than good looks. Recently, I've noticed my wife making a lot of comments about Rachel, calling her an airhead and just being kind of mean. When my wife makes these comments in private, I'm able to stand up for Rachel, but when they're made in public, I obviously don't want to embarrass my wife by calling her out. My wife and I went on a trip away with Matt and Rachel last week, which we had been planning for a while and really looking forward to. At dinner one night, my wife made a really mean comment after we started talking about the economy. She remarked, "Don't worry, Rachel, you can join in the conversation once the smart people are done." She was the only one who laughed. I was completely embarrassed, and once we were alone, I told my wife she had been really rude and I was ashamed of her. I told her she needs to stop making nasty comments, and she agreed. However, the next night we all went out to a bar. Rachel was getting a lot of attention from guys there who were sending over drinks. My wife was looking visibly annoyed that she wasn't receiving the same attention, so I tried to lift her spirits by paying for all her drinks and making a fuss of her. One guy came over and said that Rachel looked just like the model Zendaya. My wife let out a massive laugh and said, "Did you mean to say Whoopi Goldberg?" I turned to my wife and straight up said, "You really are so jealous, aren't you?" She looked hurt, but didn't have time to respond as Rachel had left the table in tears. I followed Matt and told Rachel directly that I was so sorry for my wife's words and that I was ashamed of her behavior. When I reunited with my wife, she told me I was horrible for calling her jealous in front of everyone and embarrassing her. I told her straight up that she was jealous of Rachel as Rachel is more attractive than her. I realize in hindsight this was a very heavy thing to say and can see why she would be hurt by it. However, I stand by the fact it was said in anger. Edit. I forgot to mention that since the trip, Matt has messaged me to let me know my wife is no longer welcome at their wedding, and that, as a couple, himself and Rachel have decided they aren't interested in our friendship anymore if my wife is around. Rachel feels as if my wife has bullied her and has even suggested that some of the comments were racially motivated. I am so humiliated. Another edit. Just wanted to clarify, my wife is stunning. I wouldn't have married her if I didn't think she was beautiful. She's just not as conventionally attractive. To me, she is the most beautiful woman on the planet, but objectively, Rachel is better looking. I'm very open to being the asshole in this situation, but I definitely wouldn't want people to think I'm not attracted to my wife. Update. Thanks for the feedback, guys. Just to add, although I didn't call out my wife in public, I regularly called her out in private after she would make comments. The reason we continued to hang out as a group is because my wife reassured me her and Rachel got on well and the comments were in good spirit. Matt would also continue to invite us out, so I didn't think it was too much of a problem. Also, in regards to the free drinks, Rachel accepted them for the table. We all shared the drinks and were joking around. The drinks were sent from the same two creepy guys, and it wasn't like the whole bar was buying Rachel drinks. Matt isn't insecure and would rather accept the free alcohol. Also, my wife earns more than me, so we split costs 50-50 most of the time. I paid for her drinks this time to make her feel better. Before I update, I also want to make it clear that I don't have feelings for Rachel. I think she is a conventionally attractive girl and she's a model. I'm not even really friends with Rachel, as some of you pointed out. She's younger, so we don't have much in common. I also want to make it clear that my wife is conventionally attractive, also just less so than Rachel. Rachel is a model. My wife is not. This doesn't mean I don't think my wife is more attractive than Rachel to me. I just mean objectively Rachel is better looking. I agree with the comments that both my wife and I were the holes in this situation. My wife's behavior is unacceptable and mine was cruel. And I've probably done lasting damage to my wife's self-esteem. I don't think I'm the asshole for failing to call out my wife sooner. In my opinion, you should never publicly criticize your partner. So, for me, telling her privately that the jokes were inappropriate is enough. I also want to point out my wife and I have already had couples counseling and my wife individual therapy. When I initially made the comment that Rachel is more attractive than her, my wife was furious, and rightly so. She said that it was a cruel thing to say and that she wasn't jealous of Rachel and insisted that the jokes were not offensive and everyone was just tiptoeing round the pretty girl. When we returned home from the trip and I received Matt's message, I let my wife know. At first she was hurt, but she eventually came around and said her behavior was inappropriate. She's admitted that she is jealous of Rachel due to her looks and was embarrassed by her behavior. I also asked her if she felt as if I found Rachel more attractive than her, but she said she didn't think that it. Seeing a younger, prettier girl get treated way better than her and she felt like second best. I think my wife noticed Rachel getting special treatment from other people and was jealous she didn't receive the same. My wife has sent an apology to Rachel, but I don't think the friendship is salvageable. I will still attend the wedding, but my wife won't be coming along even if she is reinvited. I think it's worth my wife having some more therapy and I'll have to rethink things. This had definitely made me see things in a different light and I'm really disappointed. Thanks again everyone for the feedback.